SMT Nation, what is going on? It's your boy, the SMT. We're going to take a look at the Root Metrics Half 1 2020 report. It's not a complete report. It's going to take a little bit of time, but Half 1 is essentially done and over with in terms of testing. Now it's going to be closing out the report, compiling the last of the data. But this, in my experience, is probably the most scientific, non-crowdsourced, non-skewed form of network testing. It's a streamlined way of testing in which it doesn't favor any one single carrier except for the carrier that offers the best network experience. So this tests all sorts of different technologies. It includes pretty much everything. So it's not going to select for 5G. It's not going to select for LTE. It's going to take into account all forms of connections, whether it's, CDMA, 3G, LTE, 4G, 5G, whatever, HSPA plus, 5GE, ultra-wideband. It takes into account everything and anything the devices in the testing could possibly connect to, which is essentially real-world usage. These are all the technologies available to all people. So in the past, it has been completely dominated by Verizon. Historically, they have always scored the highest and the most places. And over the last couple of years, we started to see a trend. AT&T is really starting to close the gap in excellence. They are approaching that Verizon-like territory. And also, as predicted by the SMT, we're seeing huge gains from T-Mobile. They are actually starting to win categories. And that's really the reason for this video, is the things that have haunted T-Mobile in terms of, customer retention, churn rates, and customer overall experience with the network. Those things are starting to become reduced. The instances and cases where the T-Mobile network just isn't good enough is that those things are starting to fade. They're becoming less and less of a problem. People are finding themselves enjoying their experiences and more satisfied with the T-Mobile network. So, things that have haunted T-Mobile in the past, congestion as they have continued to grow. Now their network has more capacity in places where they didn't really have adequate native coverage. That has been changing over the last several years. The reliability portion has gotten better. The accessibility has gotten better. Now, one of the things that I've said time and time again that has haunted T-Mobile has been the accessibility and the reliability, and those are starting to improve. So it's not just the speed thing, right? It's everything, encompassed into the testing by Root Metrics. And again, I consider them to be the most trusted and scientific with their methodology. So T-Mobile is starting to take markets. They're starting to win and get win shares. This is great. Let's take a look at some use cases. I've got all of the screenshots from all the markets that have so far been tested for Half 1 of 2021. So you can look for yours, to see, red dot, blue dot, pink dot. Lets you know who's winning that area, what, market has shared, or if it's got an all-out winner. But here's what I noticed. All right, some takeaways. All right, so the first thing, Birmingham, Alabama. All right, starts right off the bat, a three-way tie. T-Mobile coming in there. Previously, they were not in the lead in any type of metrics. Now, T-Mobile has the highest speeds in Birmingham, Alabama. This clearly indicates a network improvement compared to, say, for example, Half 2 of 2020, where they were approaching, being right there with Verizon and AT&T. But in the last half of testing, there were several markets like this, where T-Mobile was emerging, where they were approaching that parity mark. Now it's actually happening, and I think Birmingham is an example of this. So there's a clear indication that there are improvements and network gains happening for T-Mobile, so we got to call a spade a spade. They are approaching network parity and experience in certain places. Another example of this, Columbus, Ohio, a three-way tie between all three carriers. Same story, that we see with Birmingham, the speed, crown, as well as a lot of other metrics improving. New Haven, Connecticut, a three-way tie, huge improvement there. Previously, T-Mobile was ranked at an 85.3 rating. Now they're 98.8. Providence, Rhode Island, a three-way tie. T-Mobile previously 94.3. Now they're 98.5. Sarasota, Florida, straight-up winner, 99.1. In my estimation, AT&T is 99. Verizon's 98.5. They're so close. That is the definition of network parity. Previously, T-Mobile was 95.6. Spokane, Washington. We've got ties for Verizon and T-Mobile. T-Mobile 98.6, Verizon 98.9. Very little separating them, right? and what we've kind of seen is that Verizon's stranglehold on the excellence and the dominance is decreasing. In fact, some of the markets Verizon's experience has decreased slightly. That could be congestion, that could be a number of other issues, but I mean, clearly the network excellence gap is closing between Verizon and their competition. St. Louis, Missouri, another example, shared between T-Mobile and Verizon. T-Mobile 99.1, Verizon 99.3. Previously, 96.7 for T-Mobile, 99 for Verizon. So they were very close, and the gap is completely closed. There are 7 total shared market wins for T-Mobile, many others that are in striking distance and approaching the striking distance metric, meaning like within 1, 2, or 3 percentage points. Very, very close. There were no standalone wins previously for T-Mobile. There are still no standalone wins, but now there are 7 shared wins and many other markets that are approaching for T-Mobile to either share or overtake the other carriers. So far in the testing, because the testing is not complete, we got to wait for the rest of the markets for the first half of 2021. That data will be finished up here probably within the next couple of weeks. Verizon had 86 wins or win shares. AT&T had 66 wins or win shares. Verizon's dominance is obviously, the grip on that dominance is loosening. Still the most excellent in terms of metrics across the board with all the markets. AT&T is improving tremendously, especially recently. They now have a lot of standalone wins as well as shared wins with Verizon and T-Mobile. So they're getting more and more excellent as well. T-Mobile doesn't have any state wins. Verizon still has 12 state wins. AT&T has 4 outright state wins. And between AT&T and Verizon sharing, they have 9 states. Verizon dominates in Utah, South Dakota, North Dakota, New Jersey, Montana, Missouri, Kentucky, Indiana, Georgia, Delaware, Arkansas, and Arizona. They have the sole wins in those states. AT&T dominating in Illinois, Maine, Mississippi, and West Virginia. The other states, they were shared between them. So no states for T-Mobile. Again, they're still kind of working their way through the improvement stages within this testing and what it kind of shows us. If you go into a store, and you buy a phone from a carrier, and you start to use that network, and test it, that would be a measure of real-world experience. And that's essentially what RootMetrics does. They go into a store in a market, they buy a flagship for each of the carriers, they go into each carrier store, and they pay the retail price, they get the most premium plan, and then they test it in that market. They go to libraries, they go to stores, they go to shopping centers, they test in the streets, they go to parks. They do everything like a normal person would using their phone. And then they collect that data, right, and they compile it. Now, again, this testing is preliminary. It's not finalized. There are still more markets. There are still more states that need to close out in data. But previously, for the year 2020, nationally, Verizon was rated a 96, AT&T a 94.5, and then T-Mobile an 87.5. I would guess that this year, at the end of the year, we'll see that Verizon's 96 could still be the same, might drop, might go up. I think AT&T's is going to go up 100%. Their spending has improved their performance tremendously. And I think T-Mobile is going to improve as well. Being rated 87.5, I would not be surprised if they, extended beyond the 90 rating and started to creep up closer to what we see from like Verizon and AT&T. Now, the narrative that T-Mobile tries to paint is 5G this, 5G that. We've got the biggest 5G network. We've got the most reliable. We've got the best 5G network. That's really a fallacy because that's not what, network experience is about. There's still a huge amount of data traffic that is over 4G LTE. In fact, it's the primary mode of connection in most cases. So testing only 5G would be a skewed result unless you are always connected to 5G only, right? So that's what this testing does. Not to say that RootMetrics tests every square inch in every market. That's unrealistic and unreasonable, but they do test, using the same devices in the same markets in the same ways, and they do it at multiple points throughout these cities for several days. And they've got tons of different data points using all the same stuff and all the same conditions. So to me, it's a very reliable scientific way of testing. T-Mobile has always claimed that RootMetrics has been paid off by Verizon because of the network dominance. I've said time and time again, It's just because Verizon's wireless network has been that dominant for that long. But now, what do you say if you're T-Mobile? Now you're starting to win markets, win shares. Your scores are improved. This is one of the things I've always said was going to happen. Eventually, T-Mobile was going to improve the network, right? And they were going to have to eat crow and realize that they've just been lying to people, trying to claim that RootMetrics was being paid off by Verizon. And I said, tish tosh, that's ridiculous. And now it proves it because, look, T-Mobile is claiming that RootMetrics has been lying and skewed and paid off by Verizon. Now they're starting to win markets. So apparently, if you listen to T-Mobile, that means T-Mobile must be paying off RootMetrics for winning some markets, which obviously is false. They're not paying them off. Nobody's paying them off. But clearly, that's all just rhetoric. They're trying to twist and control their narrative because their network wasn't very good. Now it's much better and they're winning markets clearly. I think the takeaway from all of this, and thank you all for watching this all the way through and listening in and taking a look at these numbers. Go ahead and comment, say whatever you got to say, obviously your perspectives. I've tested throughout the state of Ohio. It's very accurate in my experience along with the data. It matches up very nicely. I think nationally it's very accurate. Market to market, it seems to work very well. This is one of the tools that I use to investigate coverage along with cell tower maps like Cell Mapper, those resources, and then just experience, right? And of course, you go to your market, you look at your experience. I mean, you use it, and that's the proof of the pudding, right? So obviously it's not gospel. This is just one of the resources I feel is very reliable and very scientific and is trusted. One of the things you could use as a tool to help you make a decision about using a network or switching to a competitor's network or whatever the case may be. So what I would like to ask you is, what do you guys think of this data? I mean, it's not finalized. We'll do a recap of this later when it closes out the half one of 2021 and the data is official. But clearly, T-Mobile has improved in a great way. I predicted this, I don't know, it was probably about 6 or 7 months ago. I'll put an end card to that video at the end of this where I said, T-Mobile is going to start winning, markets. Their capacity, the network improvements, eventually they were going to catch up. The gap was going to be closed. Eventually things were going to start to reach the point where you can basically pick your carrier based on pricing, based on customer experience, the perks that come with it. And I think we're getting there. It's getting pretty close. In my experience, I still think Verizon is the best national network. In many states, they offer the best network. And, they still offer the most excellence across the country. But in many cases, based on this data and people's experiences, you can have any of the other carriers too and still have a really good experience. Whether or not national is something you even need, that depends on your needs. Anyways, let me know what you think of the data thus far. Let me know what you think of the analysis and the breakdown. This is what we have thus far. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Go ahead and sound off in the comment section below. The voice of the people, the SMT Nation. Let your voice be heard. Let's go ahead and hashtag RootMetrics. If you watch this all the way through and you're a real one, hashtag RootMetrics. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next video. Peace. Thank you for taking this opportunity to watch the SMT YouTube channel. If you appreciated this video, give it a like and a share to all your favorite social media platforms. Thank you in advance for that. Also, check out some of the links in the description box. We have the SMT Patreon page. We also have the Twitter handle at SneedTech. And do check out the audio-only podcast available on all the major podcast platforms. And if you are new, have not subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and activate the bell notification icon so you never miss an upload from the SMT. We'll catch you on the next video. Peace.